Welcome, my name is Matt, aka Road88. We are getting into Star Wars costume of heroes, mods, Mon Mothma. Okay, so Mon Mothma is another character where a lot can be said. Where Disney has actually brought her in a lot more for the pre- and New Hope storylines. They have actually done a pretty good job keeping true to the backstories that are mostly found in the post-Return of the Jedi books. And you kind of get little hints of her, I think, in Shadows of the Empire. But you really get your first best readings of Mon Mothma out of Star Wars Return of the Jedi. Then going into other books like Glove of Darth Vader and moving on way past. Probably going into, I don't know if she makes it all the way to Young Jedi Knights. It's been a while since I've read that book series. I'd have to reread them again to see if she ever made it that far. I mean, she goes as far back as even before Phantom Menace. If I'm not mistaken, I think she was a little bit older than Padme. But she was a dear friend of Padme in the Senate, along with Bail Organa and Senator Tucci. There was kind of that little group of senators that were very defensive of the democracy aspect of the Republic. And she would have been within that ring of people. She practically loses her career and her family and so much of her own life to the Empire. Whenever the Empire came into play, she like everything about her life. The more she is written to have been very bold against the Empire and having upset the Emperor on many occasions, actually. Not just that one that we saw in Endor, like that. I think that right there was kind of his last straw with her. She really went hardcore against him that time. But and Governor Grand Moff Tarkin, he makes a comment in their episode 4 of New Hope at the officers' conference table about the dissolve of the Senate committee, the senators, that it's been dissolved. Well, it was because of her. It was because of that incident that we see in Endor, season 2. She was the reason why it kind of got dissolved. Now she was able to get back into place with the senators after Palpatine was killed. She, like I said, she practically lost her family to the Empire. And it's kind of one reason, like on the books, in post-Return of the Jedi books, you'll notice she takes Leia under her wings. She was close to Bail Organa. She knew Leia's mom. And she kind of lost her own family because of the Empire as well. So, I mean, they kind of gave her a chance to kind of take Leia under her wings a little bit and kind of almost like another daughter in a sense, and kind of continue passing on to Leia what Bail Organa had been spending his whole life trying to pass on to Leia that probably would have been passed on to her had Padme still been alive. It's a lot to circle the mind around process, but it is a thought process to consider. She really goes through the ringer, but it's because she sacrifices so much, willing to risk, whatever was necessary because of how dangerous the Empire was. She definitely had some balls on her on that one, in that regards, And that's one reason, like in Return of the Jedi, when she's talking about the plans of the second Death Star, she kind of seemed a little depressed. It was more than just about the story she was telling about those Bothans. There was more to it. I mean, she saw this as possibly being the showdown, the end of the line, going up against the Emperor Palpatine, that it was either going to be him or them, and just processing what all she has had to go through to even get to this point. You know, everything that she has lost, like, even after the Empire's gone, she's not getting her family back. They're gone. You know, little things like that. I mean, it was a lot for her to process. She is described in the books as having fallen into a great deal of depression because of everything she's lost. But she still, like I said, she's got some balls on her. She still pushes. She's a very courageous woman in the Star Wars universe. In the field of politics, she really stands up toe to toe against some of the most vile politicians, even at the risk of her own life. And I think these are kind of some hack tricks she might have learned from Padme in some sense. The motivation and inspiration that Bail Organa would have passed on, you know, with some of his counsel and wisdoms. They really kind of built that particular group of senators before, in the Old Republic. They really kind of inspired and built each other into the people they became in so many ways. And she kind of became who she became because of those people. And once again, in post Return of the Jedi books, when she and Leia goes to Coruscant to clean up after Palpatine's mess in Coruscant and try to reestablish a new republic, she essentially, you know, as kind of a refiller, as a replacement, she kind of does take Leia under her wings, helping Bail Organa finish what he started, the very thing that Padme probably would have passed on to her, to Leia. So, you know, Leia kind of ends up with that influence. It's still kind of getting, kind of in a way, a chunk of her mom passed on to her through these people, including Mon Mothma. So, it's a lot to think about. Like I said, there's a lot to be said about Mon Mothma, and I really do appreciate this could be another catastrophe from Disney if they don't hit the brakes on all the catastrophes they've been guilty of against Star Wars. Screwing with the Mon Mothma story. That is another reason for a fan war from my generation against Disney producers, the Disney producers, for today's generation. They'd be sparking something if they ever pissed with the Mon Mothma story, because they have come very close. I mean, they've already done it to so many other characters already. They did it to Chewbacca horribly, as well as the Solo kids and all that stuff. I mean, they've just they've screwed away everything they were handed to them for the George Lucas generation and didn't even work with it. They just screwed it away. But Mon Mothma, so far, they have kept true to the backstories that you get of Mon Mothma in the post-Return of the Jedi books. That I will compliment them on, and I would encourage that they still stick with that. I mean, if there's ever a chance of not losing more of the George Lucas era fans that haven't quite left Star Wars yet, that are actually still trying to fight and defend Star Wars for what it was, for what to them it is. It would be it's that kind of stuff in that direction that Disney might need to take into consideration if they ever want to see this fan war go away. You know? This is not Star Trek. We don't do that timeline jumping thing, and we're not going to buy the excuses as duct tape over the mistakes, like Legend and Canon. We're not buying it. I'm a fan of Star Trek too. I'll save that for when I go following Star Trek, you know? When I get into Star Wars, I want to talk Star Wars. If I want to talk Star Trek, I'll get into Star Trek for that. So, either direction, Mon Mothma, if you go into the swgoh.gg, they give mod recommendations on that online website. If you go to my first video in my mods playlist, I explain the various different types of character roles as well as the various different types of mods and their purpose, and I explain what it is we're doing. And in the suggestion is kind of universal. It's being speed and tenacity. Now, she does not fight at all. She literally has no attack abilities, none. But she is pure leader. She gives direction. She gives orders. So with speed, you kind of make it a little bit quicker with this. You might also consider maybe defense in place of that if that's not working for you. Tenacity means, by definition, means not easily torn apart. That's a tank-like feature. That's a tank character feature. It's allowing her to be a little bit stronger. And really, in all honesty, if speed isn't getting you through, you might take into consideration triple tenacity for Mon Mothma. Protect her. Make her tough, thick skin. You know, give her that thick skin that she needs to be able to survive that battle and be able to direct the troops of your squad to, until the battle is over. I mean, whatever you need to do to protect her, because she's not going to actually be firing a pistol. She's going to need everyone, or a lightsaber or something like that. She's going to need everyone else in her squad to kind of look after her. Now, apparently she does come with a Captain Drogon. I didn't realize this until the other day. But, so she will bring an extra attacker to your squad pack. That helps, She's not coming alone. She is bringing some muscle to the party. Which is kind of her. Nice of her to think about that. Realizing she might need that. But that attack is coming from a separate character. It's not necessarily coming from her. So, yeah, you kind of want to protect her, keep her alive. And your mods need to be focused on that. So you're kind of going in a tank character direction with the mods with her. You do want her to be quick on her toes in giving the directions before she gets shot and killed and nobody has no sense of direction. If you have her as the commanding officer of the squad. So, yeah, that speed and tenacity, recommended. Secondary recommendation, triple tenacity would be my suggestion. Give her that thick skin that she needs to survive. Whichever direction. Kind of play around and see how it feels for you. But that's Mon Mothma's mods. Subscribe to the channel, like the videos, comments, questions, suggestions down below. And thank you for following. May the Force be with you.